Hey guys! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the next game review, and man, I am really excited to be talking about this game today. Since at this previous Sunday, I decided to cover Red Dead Redemption, one of my favorite games of all time, for its 15th anniversary. I thought that I would finally cover this particular game. For today's review, I'm going to be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the prequel to Red Dead Redemption. This game was released in 2018, 8 years after the original game was released. In the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, instead of following John Marston, we instead take control of Arthur Morgan, an outlaw and a member of the Vanderlyn gang, which John Marston was a part of in, well, Red Dead Redemption 2. Over the course of the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan must deal with the decline of the Wild West while trying to survive against government forces like the Pinkerton Agency, rival gangs like the O'Driscolls, and not to mention as well the slow decline of the Vanderlyn gang, the Vanderlyn family. This was a game that before its release, I had been itching for another entry of the Red Dead Redemption or the Red Dead franchise. Red Dead Revolver to me is a good game. It's a lot of fun. And like I mentioned in my review of Red Dead Redemption, I love that game so much. I believe this was either in 2016 or 2017 when Rockstar finally showed the teaser for Red Dead Redemption 2. And guys, to say the least, I was extremely excited about. And actually, if I remember correctly, I did a trailer reaction to the teaser of Red Dead Redemption 2. That teaser release just seems like it was from a bygone era, but you guys get my point. I will never forget how excited I was for Red Dead Redemption 2, and as a matter of fact, it was, besides God of War 2018, my most anticipated game of 2018. Upon my first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2, this was a game that at first, the first couple of chapters, while they were a slow burn, at the same time, it was a game and its universe and its storytelling and it's just everything. It was a game that I slowly found myself getting more and more immersed in, leading up to the conclusion of Arthur Morgan's story. And by the way, spoiler alert, when you get to John Marston's side of the story, which I thought was really good, to which, by the way, I'll have some thoughts about that later, just some things to say, I fell in love with Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is a hot take. I can't believe I'm saying this early, but I must mention this. Do I love Red Dead Redemption 2 like I loved the first one? Here comes the hot take, guys. I do not. But that's not to take away from anything else. But anyways, guys, before I continue on with today's video, I just wanted to say welcome to my channel, everybody. For those of you who are coming by my channel for the very first time, be sure to hit the subscribe button to not miss a future video, whether it's a feature review, a reaction, a top 5, a top 10, or whatever I have coming your way, and join me on my journey to 10K subscribers and beyond, because believe me when I say this, guys, you are not going to miss the cool stuff I have coming your way. And for those of you who are coming back to my channel, by the way, welcome back, everybody. You have no idea how happy I am to see your faces once again. And let's also start our conversation below as well. What are your guys' thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2? And also, as a matter of fact, which one of the franchises is your favorite? Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Redemption 1? Or do you even happen to love the first game of this whole franchise, Red Dead Revolver? Do you love this game as one of your favorite games of all time? Do you love Red Dead Online? Let me know below. And the footage that you're all seeing was captured from an Xbox Series X, and man, I'm gonna tell you all, on a Series X, this game not only plays so good, but it looks, I'll get into a look, by the way, at this game soon, but this game looks just absolutely stupendous on a Series X, and playing this on OLED TV, it's, to say the least, it's an experience. Does Red Dead Redemption 2 still hold its place in video game history as a phenomenal prequel to Red Dead Redemption 1? Absolutely yes. Are there some things that I want to talk about as well? Yes, but for the time being, it's time to talk about why I love Red Dead Redemption 2. Going on to the first thing that I can most easily talk about, and it's pretty much the most obvious thing that I can start off with, and that is the graphics and the art direction. Red Dead Redemption 2 is to this day, still to this day by the way, one of the most stunning looking games I've ever played. Firing it up on my Xbox Series X, whether I was playing it on OLED or not by the way, this is a game that in every single corner of this game's phenomenally and excellently designed open world. Red Dead Redemption 2 is not only one of the most beautiful looking games ever played, but it's also one of the most immersive games out there. How Red Dead Redemption 2 starts off in this blizzard and then going into this beautiful Wild West frontier, going into the springtime. From the opening moments of Red Dead Redemption 2, you can tell that Rockstar poured everything, all their resources into not just the beautiful lighting, the beautiful detail, but into every single aspect of how this game looks and to every aspect about the world design of Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, the game looks good on a PS5, it absolutely does. But if you want the best looking game on a console, play this game on an Xbox Series X. I'm telling you all. Not only does this game actually run better on a Series X, but it looks stupendous. There are so many parts in this game where it felt like I was playing a classic Western movie, but in video game form. Like, it is just that great of a looking game. This is a game that in any moment you want to go onto your horse and just explore the world. How you come across all these characters, whether it's a member of the Vanderlyn gang, anybody, a random civilian, a random stranger. It is one of those games that you'll find yourself just riding around, just exploring, because it is just that beautifully done. And once again, the attention to detail in this open world is just absolutely astonishing. And not to mention, like I mentioned you guys earlier, whether you're just riding around, interacting with random civilians, random strangers, or especially hearing the incredible score, which I will get onto later on. The next thing that I gotta talk about here, and this is easily amongst my favorite things about this game, the storytelling. The story of Red Dead Redemption 2 is easily among the best stories ever told in a video game. The story of Red Dead Redemption 1 is one of my favorite stories in a video game. But I gotta tell you all, the storytelling of Red Dead Redemption 2 I think is even better than the first game. The storytelling of Red Dead Redemption 2 takes everything that made the first Red Dead so good and it multiplies it. What Red Dead Redemption 2 does so with the storytelling is that it not only takes a character that, at least for me, I found to be so unlikable at first, but it takes a character that you slowly grow attached to over the course of the game. Something that I absolutely love about the storytelling of Red Dead Redemption 2 is how this game tackles the themes of what the first game does, and not only does it double down upon it, but it adds one more specific thing, and that is, like I mentioned you guys earlier, you watching the slow decline of not only a gang, but a family that you loved. A family that you could see over the course of the game slowly turning on each other because of one fucking guy, to which I'll get onto later on. But regardless, guys, I'm gonna make a comparison here, and I don't think this comparison will be agreed upon with everybody else, but this is just how I feel about this game. Red Dead Redemption 1, I describe that game as essentially like the godfather of Western storytelling for video games. Now, once again, I don't know if you guys will agree with me on that, but that's just how I feel. Red Dead Redemption 2 to me is the Godfather Part 2 of Western video games. Godfather Part 2 is a movie that I absolutely love, but it is a movie that I do not love as much as that first movie. And that's exactly how I feel about Red Dead Redemption 1 and Red Dead Redemption 2. And that brings me on to the next thing, the voice acting. The voice acting and the characters of Red Dead 2 are just simply put perfect. I love the voice acting and I love the characters of this game so much, but I want to give my MVPs of this game, and obviously my MVPs of the game, Arthur Morgan, as you can imagine, John Marston, Sadie, I love Sadie, Dutch, Charles, Hosea, and then that one guy, Micah, to which Micah, amazing voice actor. I'll get on to the voice actors momentarily, but Micah, one thing to say to you, and that is this: roll the clip.
Fuck you!
couldn't resist on that one. I love Micah as a character. Benjamin Byron Davis as Dutch, I absolutely loved. Roger Clark as Arthur Morgan, Rob Rythoff as John Marston, Curzon Dobell, I'm pretty sure I butchered his name, as Hosea Matthews, Peter Blumkist, that motherfucker. I love him, but I hate him at the same time. Alex McKenna as Sadie Adler, Noshar Dalal, again, pretty sure I butchered his name, as Charles Smith. I love these actors, and they were the ones that I consider the biggest MVPs of Red Dead Redemption 2. Something else that I gotta talk about, and as y'all can imagine, the gameplay. The gameplay, and I should say this right now, for I want to say 90% of the time of Red Dead Redemption 2, I absolutely love. Whether it comes down to the gunplay, the horseback riding, interacting with everybody, doing missions for everybody, the gameplay of Red Dead Redemption 2 is just simply put not only immersive, it's addicting, even with its, I want to say this, with its annoying elements, to which I'll get onto later on, especially when it comes down to the gunplay of Red Dead 2. Holy crap. Something that I gotta mention really quick, especially when it comes down to the gunplay, is the sound design. Hearing the gunshots, especially from my favorite revolver, the Schofield revolver, or hearing that blast and the bass of a double-barreled shotgun just blasting an enemy away, it is so freaking satisfying. One of my favorite aspects when it came down to the gunplay is the shooting of your revolver, of your repeater, or your shotgun. Not only do you hit that right trigger to fire the gun, but in order to go into their chamber, when you hit that right trigger again, you're actually loading in another trigger, which to me, this aspect about the game, especially with the gunplay, added not only so much more fun to the gameplay, but it added so much tension to the gunplay of Red Dead Redemption 2. I can understand why some people might be annoyed with this choice, but personally for me, it added not only so much more fun to the gun battles, but way more tension. When it comes down to the gameplay of Red Dead 2, the gameplay is just simply put so much fun. It's immersive, and I do think that for the most part, it adds into what is really, to say the least, an experience of a Western, an open world, an epic Western of a video game. One of my favorite things about this game are the smaller character-driven moments. And I'm just talking about moments where you're either sitting down at your camp with your fellow members, with Arthur talking about his doubts, his worries about not only the gang, but how he sees the world around him, but not to mention as well, doing activities with your fellow members. Like, for example, guys, one of my favorite moments of Red Dead 2 was a mission. It's not really a mission, but it's just an activity you do with Dutch and Isaiah as you're fishing. You're talking about the past and the things that the gang did in the past with Arthur, them rolling their boat, singing music, or not to mention as well, before you do a robbery, the camaraderie that you have with your fellow gang members. One of my favorite moments of the game, I can't remember exactly which chapter this was in, but this was after one of the members was rescued. Mary Beth invites you to dance, and you're just dancing with her. You hear the music, you're at the campfire. Moments like these were moments that made me realize why I love this game. One of the aspects that I absolutely adore about Red Dead Redemption 2, and that is the music. The music of Red Dead Redemption 2 is just to say the least, and I have already used so many positive adjectives, so I'm just going to repeat one in particular. The music of this game is just simply put beautiful, it's phenomenal, and it's just, well, it's pretty much, well, perfect. The ambient score of Red Dead Redemption 2 is just simply put not only beautiful, it's excellent, but it's just immersive. It's the kind of score that as you're riding around the American frontier, you just find yourself riding around anywhere as you're listening to the music, the beautiful music composed by Woody Jackson. The thing that I have to talk about when it comes down to the music of Red Dead 2 is the song Stand Unshaken. I'll never forget the first time I heard the song. I got chills and goosebumps. If there's something in particular that I absolutely love about Stand Unshaken, it's the production value of the song. You can tell that Rockstar went all in with Stand Unshaken, even though, and do not get me wrong, not gonna guys want to say this, and this might be a hot take and I have to get this out there. In some regards, I absolutely do prefer Far Away compared to Stand Unshaken, but anyways, Stand Unshaken is such a brilliant song, but I will have one thing to say about this. It's just a personal opinion thing for me when it comes to this song, but regardless, guys, Stand On Chicken is the type of song that I just found myself just putting on because it's just that good of a song. It's a brilliant song and an otherwise phenomenal game. The end of Red Dead 2, not just Arthur's story, but also how this game goes into the first Red Dead Redemption. All I'm going to say is this. There are some aspects I'll talk about, especially when it comes down to the epilogue, to which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But regardless, guys, the ending of Arthur's story and going into the beginning of the first game, I think it's just one word: brilliant.
Ah! God damn it!
Now, with that being said, and I can only imagine that you guys are literally thinking this right now.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yes, guys, even though I love Red Dead 2, I do have issues with this game. Here comes my hot take, guys, and this just might be the moment where everybody clicks off this video or gives me a bunch of dislikes, but I have to get this out there. I love this game. I do. But with that being said, I do prefer the first one more, and there are a few reasons why. While my issues with this game are small, here's the thing. The smaller issues with this game are the issues that added up and they built it up to just some big annoyances. The first of which is this, and that is some of the gameplay, which if I must say, in my personal opinion, some of the gameplay just simply put, it's just annoying. One of the aspects, and this just might be a smaller aspect that I might just be nitpicking, but to me, one of the things that I was just not on board with this game was how you picked up certain things. Holding down the buttons and then waiting for the animation, I just found to be kind of annoying. That just might be a very nitpicky aspect, but over time I was just going like, okay, why couldn't they just hold the button down and have the animation going as you're holding down the button? Why was it like that? Now, do not get me wrong, and once again, this just might be a very nitpicky thing to many people, but for me, this was an aspect that I just found to be an annoyance over time. One of the gameplay aspects that I think was great in idea and in terms of concept, personally for me, in terms of execution, was again an annoyance, and that is the idea of maintaining your cores. Your health core, your stamina core, the Deadeye core, and especially maintaining your horse and your guns. The core idea I thought was actually really cool in terms of idea, but the execution of the cores after a little bit, I did find to be kind of annoying. Maintaining especially your horse, I swear to God, guys, there were many times throughout the game where I had just patted and I had cleaned my horse, but then literally after 20 minutes, I was like, oh, you gotta clean up your horse again. You gotta do this, otherwise your horse's health is gonna severely decline. There were many times where I knew I took such good care of my horse, only to maybe just 15 minutes later for the game to say, nope, clean up your horse again. And I found this aspect to be very annoying. And once again, the RPG element of maintaining your cores I thought was actually very interesting and very cool, but at the same time, there just came a certain bit where I was just going like, okay, I gotta feed Arthur again. I gotta do this so he doesn't die on me. One of the aspects in terms of gameplay that I found to be very annoying was the fact that if you were too far away from your horse, if you bonded with your horse at its highest level, if you're too far away, if you whistle for your horse, it would not come to you. I personally found this bit very annoying, and once again, one of the aspects about this game that I do praise was the realism aspect. As a matter of fact, there were some bits with the choice of realism that I found to be really cool, but there are some areas when it comes to its realism where I found that it was more than anything else a detriment to the game's fun, the game's gameplay. Now, this particular thing that I'm going to talk about here isn't necessarily an issue that I have with this game, as it's more of just a personal preference about a song. And as y'all can imagine, I'm talking about Stand Unshaken. Now, once again, like I mentioned earlier, I love Stand Unshaken. It's a brilliant song, and in some ways, I do think it is a better song than Far Away from the first Red Dead. Stand Unshaken, I do think is a better produced song, and how it forwards and how it drives forward Arthur's journey in Red Dead 2, I do think is brilliant. With that being said, as much as I think that Stand Unshaken is a brilliant song, I do think that Far Away is a better song. Far Away, while it may not be the better produced song like Stand Unshaken is, the biggest thing that I think Far Away does better than Stand Unshaken is one particular thing. Far Away isn't just a great track about how it drives John Marston's story forward, but there is one thing that Far Away does brilliantly, and that is a sense of atmosphere. You controlling John on that horse as he is riding through Mexico for the first time, and not only seeing, of course, like I just mentioned, John's story being driven forward, but the atmosphere of the song and the atmosphere of you horseback riding through Mexico. There's just something about that song and how it fits with that particular moment, which is absolutely perfect. Stand Unshaken is still a great song, but I do think that Far Away is the better song. One more thing that I gotta talk about is the game's epilogue. Playing as John Marston in the epilogue, I absolutely loved. I love the fact that you can play as John Marston continuing on the story. But even though I absolutely loved playing as John Marston, my biggest critique, my biggest criticism when it comes down to the epilogue is just that it's just too damn long. The epilogue of this game, I felt, was just way too drawn out, and I will never forget when I first played this game, even though I enjoyed playing as John, there were so many times where I just kept thinking, is this gonna build to something, or is this gonna be a non-stop thing where I'm just trying to go to somewhere? Once you get to a certain point, it's very obvious, it's very rewarding knowing that the end of the epilogue is starting the events of the first Red Dead, which I absolutely love. However, there's come a certain point where the epilogue just keeps going and going and going and going, and I just got to a bit where I was just going like, is this going somewhere, or are you just doing this just to pad out the game even further? It could have most definitely have been shortened by a couple of hours at the minimum. So overall, even though I do still prefer Red Dead Redemption 1, regardless, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a beautiful and a phenomenal prequel. From the art direction, the open world design, the storytelling, the characters, the gameplay for the most part, the gunplay, the sound design, the music, all going down to the ending, Red Dead Redemption 2 is an incredible and it's an excellent game. All in all, I'm going to give Red Dead Redemption 2 a 9.25 out of 10. Red Dead Redemption 2 is an epic Western odyssey that you should most definitely play. It is a wonderful game. And that, guys, is gonna wrap it up for my review of Red Dead Redemption 2. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If so, please hit the like button, or if you dislike this review, hit the dislike button. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click to the left or right side of the screen. And of course, until my next review or video goes live, I will see you all next time.